Good morning, Bucknutters. Welcome to the Bucknuts Morning 5 here on Monday, March 31st, 2025. I am Dave Biddle. I'll be joined by Dan Rubin in just a moment. We're going to meet with Ryan Day today. This time has been moved up. The SID over at Ohio State, Jerry Emick says to be in our seats by 10:45 a.m. So for the Ryan Day press conference today after practice, Buckeyes are practicing right now, and we'll meet with Coach Day today. So looking forward to that. Make sure, before we go any further, make sure you guys keep your head on a swivel tomorrow, all right? Be on your toes tomorrow. You know what I'm talking about. You know what tomorrow is. It's just be on your toes tomorrow. Unless you're one of my friends and completely forget what day it is so I can fool you all day long. All right. One thing that is no fool is Mando. Love Mando. Bam. Mando is America's #1 whole body deodorant for men, and I highly recommend it. If you've been using the same deodorant like I was for decades, it's time to try something new and something better. That's where Mando comes into play. If you want to try America's #1 whole body deodorant right now, you can find the products at places like Walmart, Target, Meijer, and other retailers across the country. For the best deals, still go to shopmando.com. Mando's starter pack is perfect for new customers, and we can get you a good deal for the starter pack. The starter pack comes with a stick deodorant, solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant. That's what this is. I really like this scent too, Pro Sport. It's time I need to re-up. They do. They have a customer in me. You get the cream tube deodorant, the stick deodorant. You get 2 free products of your choice like mini body wash, things like that. And you get free shipping. All right. As a special offer for our listeners, new customers get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code. That equates to over 40% off your starter pack. So use code Bucknuts at shopmando.com, shopmando.com. Please support our show and tell them that we sent you. Smell fresher, stay drier, and boost your confidence from head to toe with Mando. All right. I mean, Dan Rubin knows I sit in the front row of these press conferences. I better be smelling good. Last thing I want to do is be up there stinking it up in the front row of the press conference. That's what it's a little. It's a little intense up there in the front row, but hey, front and center, baby.
The Ohio State gathered media is a larger group that needs deodorant for sure. If anyone's ever been a sports writer, I once thought the qualifications for a sports writer was you had to look like an offensive guard and not move like one. But I digress.
Maybe have clothes on that might or might not have been washed in the last month,
and
are about 20 years old.
Yeah, and they were given to you at a bowl game, like a blue bonnet bowl with the curly collar because you've worn it too many times from 1997.
Not everybody can be wearing all the best deli shirts or 24/7 sports. Not everybody can just be G'd up like us, Dan.
We're very fortunate.
We are. Listen, I'm sitting here right now in Bucknuts Podcast headquarters, Columbus. You're at Bucknuts Podcast headquarters, Dayton. So we got you guys covered. All right. So, first thing, Coach Day's not going to tip his hand. Why would he? Lincoln Kienholz is going first in quarterback drills. I've been saying he looks good, and now he's entering his 3rd year of just focusing on football, and he looks good to me. Now, I will say Devin Brown was taking the first team reps at this time last year, and we were pretty convinced Will Howard was going to be the starting quarterback. Julian Sayin's taking the second team reps, at least when we've been out there. He looks very good. As you know, I had to do a video for 24/7 Sports yesterday. They just wanted me to break down what I'm seeing from the quarterback position. I said, Lincoln looks good. I'll give you the too long didn't read version. Too long didn't see. Lincoln looks good, and I think if he needed to get the job done this year, he could get it done. That being said, I'll be shocked if Julian Sayin's not the starting quarterback this year. But I don't expect Coach Day to say anything until about 2 weeks before the opener.
I completely agree with you. Anyone who entered the offseason or this portion of the offseason hoping to get clarity there, and by clarity, I mean something in bold type at the bottom of the page from the coach, that's just not going to happen. Why would he do that?
Right.
Strategically, look, heading into last season, like you said, Devin Brown took the first snap. Devin Brown at least had some experience. When he got on the field, he had trouble staying healthy, but he'd started a few games. He'd been in the mix. But Will Howard had so much more experience. It was kind of an obvious. They wouldn't have brought him in and paid him to sit him.
Right.
So that was a little more obvious. There's no experience behind whoever starts this year. You're talking about 2 guys who really never, pretty soon we'll start mentioning Kienholz without mentioning Missouri. He'll grow out of that. I mean, that could have been anybody. I don't hold that against him whatsoever. So, yeah, you got to figure out who's the deal, and you don't want anyone to hop into the portal. So, I think it's smart. And like you said, Dave, this is not our first rodeo with Day doing this. So, even anywhere at Ohio State, I don't see how it makes any sense for him to announce it. And look, let's hope it's a ridiculously difficult decision. That's not a bad thing for Ohio State, especially now.
The question I get a lot is this a real competition? It's like, yeah, I mean, it's a real competition. It's just one that I'll be shocked that Julian won't win. If he doesn't win it, I'll be very, very, very surprised. But yeah, it's a real competition. It's not like Lincoln Kienholz is out there. I'm like, man, this guy looks like what was not a real competition was Gunnar Hoke against Justin Fields. Like that was just complete for show. Now, again, I mean, we know Will Howard is getting paid. You know who else is getting paid? Julian.
Yeah.
So,
well, listen, Will Howard, it's taken long enough, but it seems like the NFL is going to come around on him right at the right time. You start to hear a lot of good things about Will Howard these days, and you will hear them more and more up until he gets picked, maybe in the second round. There's a quarterback bump, as it's called. So if you rate him in the third, you got to pick him in the second. Who knows? Sometimes the less you hear about a quarterback before the draft, the better. But I think Will Howard is peaking in that respect. And Dave, you hit it. Saying from what I've heard and what you've heard probably since the beginning of last year is there's never been a question about arm talent or kind of the it factor. It's really more of a size thing. I think durability will be a little bit of an issue. Those who say how tall he is, though, this is a fact. I actually stood next to him entering the foundation event. He's not 6 foot. He's probably 6. He's the 6'2" in the program. Is that fair?
6'2" in shoes for sure.
He's definitely 6'2" in shoes. Yeah,
might have even had a little mini growth spurt, nothing huge. Yeah, he looks like he's 6'2" for sure. He's 6'2" in shoes. Right. I stood in Atlanta. That was just a little over 2 months ago, still basking. Yeah, that's right. Hashtag still basking. He stood up. I interviewed him one-on-one for a couple minutes, and I was maybe a tad bit taller than him with shoes on, but he's 6'2" with shoes for sure.
Absolutely.
Yep. So yeah, I've had a lot of people ask, is he even really 6 foot? It's like, yes, he is. Yes. Is he taller than Troy Smith? Yeah, we have the pictures to prove it. I love the picture that we took at the at that event. I had it was Troy, Julian, and Will were all over there. So I took a picture. I was like, guys, can I get a picture real quick? I took a picture of Troy Smith, Julian Sayin, Will Howard. I think I titled it the past, Troy, the present, Will, and the future, Julian. Some people are like, why are you saying it's the present with Will when Devin's been taking first team reps? Because
I'm not positive, but I think
I can see through that stuff. That's why.
I'm pretty sure those guys were gathered to take a picture with my wife, and then you may have stepped in afterwards. Or
that's how. Yeah, get the pretty lady to bring them over, and then I step in. Okay. Can I get one more, gentlemen?
Yeah,
it's like how I got a couple good interviews. Or a couple. I'm not a big autograph guy, but when I was down at spring training, a couple of the more prominent Reds, I don't feel comfortable asking them for autographs, but some guy in his wife knew one of the players or knew the family, so they were talking to him, and I went over like, "Hey, man, can I? Yeah, you mind signing this hat, this Reds hat?" No, man. Okay, cool. So, coming in there, like a vulture, getting the leftovers. All right, so let's move along. We both think Julian Sayin's going to be the quarterback. We both like Lincoln Kienholz, and I tell you what, Tavian St. Clair, he's an impressive young man. Not just his physical traits, we know that, but he carries himself like a veteran. He's going to be a good one here. Gonna be a good one. So, and I almost forgot this when I was doing research, a lot of research, Dan, for my video hit for 24/7 yesterday. I was like, I'm pretty sure, because a lot of people are like, Lincoln was a 3-star prospect. I'm like, no, he was 4-star. And then I'm like, let me make sure I'm remembering this right. He was ranked as the number 11 quarterback in the country.
He was committed to Washington.
What's that?
He was committed to Washington.
Yeah, I mean, we're not talking about some. Yeah, I mean, again, I'll say if he needs to get the job done this year, I believe in him. It's just Julian, handpicked by Saban. And thank you. You've mentioned this maybe more than I have, and I've mentioned it a ton. Without Nick Saban retiring, first of all, nobody benefited more than the Ohio State University from Nick Saban retiring. We don't get Julian Sayin. We don't get Caleb Downs. We would have got Seth McLaughlin. He said he was coming here regardless. So, we don't get just those two guys. And by the way, I'm trying to think the publication that came out with the top 10 returning players in college football. Number 1 and number 2. This came out 2 days ago, so we can look it up. Number 1, Jeremiah Smith. Number 2, Caleb Downs. Top 10 returning players in all of college football.
The publication was 24/7 Sports. It was Brad Crawford.
I've heard of it. Yeah. I've heard of it. I've heard of it. 24/7 Sports. Yeah.
And
Brad Crawford. I sat next to Brad at the national championship game. Good guy.
I saw that the article was up, and I just went up and scrolled down as fast as I could and was like, if they aren't 1 and 2, this doesn't work. And they, lo and behold, 1 and 2. You can guess who was 1 and who was 2 at home if you want to try that out.
I already let cat out of the bag.
Oh, you did? I didn't.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I was probably talking too fast.
It's a coin toss, but they're going to go with the offense.
There you go. All right, so let's move along. So offensive line's interesting to me because I think what they're going to probably do is they have 4 guys, obviously, that they like at those interior spots that are all back from the national championship run. Guards, Austin Saraveld, even though he's playing left tackle right now. We'll get into that. Obviously, Carson Hinsman at center. Shabola, right guard. And then, Saraveld can play both. Luke Montgomery, left guard. So those 4 guys played a ton during the national championship run. And it sounds like they're probably going to rotate 3 guys at the 2 guard spots again. Coach Day said, first of all, we got 3 guys we really like. And this is assuming that Saraveld moves back inside, which I think is a pretty safe assumption. Although I like that they're getting him reps out there just in case. You never know when you might need to move a guard to tackle. You know what I mean, Dan? But I really like it. They have 3 guards they like. And by the way, I think Josh Padilla could get the job done at center if Hinsman got banged up. And furthermore, it's such a long season, and why not keep those guys fresh? So it sounds like they're going to rotate the guards again. I think that's what's going to happen there. I think Onionwa is going to be the left tackle. I think the right tackle is probably going to be Daniels, the transfer from Minnesota, but don't rule out Ian Moore. So those are it's interesting up there. So but right now, Saraveld's running with the ones at left tackle. Onionwa is running with the 2s. I don't think that's going to last for much longer.
It strikes me as they probably learned their lesson last year. Keep in mind, we spent all the beginning of last season saying this was uncharted waters. Hopefully, you're going to play how many games? 16 games, 15, 16 games. So it's going to change depending if you get that first bye. So it's going to change, and we didn't really know how the personnel was going to be utilized. Well, then we got to learn. I mean, the offensive line was a roller coaster ride at, one that makes you nauseous for sometimes and ends beautifully. But I think they've learned their lesson and maybe realized there's no longer like you put your 5 up there and just be good with it. You got too many games. There's too many variables. There's too many snaps. Josh Simmons got injured basically non-contact if you really want to go into it. So that could happen on any snap. Seth McLaughlin went down in practice one day. Like I said, fear the scroll. I used to say that the scroll.
Yes.
We don't do that anymore because technology, what my kids were doing on Chat GPT last night was wild. But the scroll on ESPN used to put the news there. And I told you for the Cowboys and for the Buckeyes, all they announce is injuries once preseason football starts. And someone's going down every single day. It's football. Everyone gets the non-contact knee injury, be it, anywhere from college up to the pros. So you wait for the scroll. Seth McLaughlin was a scroll victim this year. Just one day in the middle of the week, you're just trying to win a national championship, and the Remington Award winner goes down. So they dealt with that. By the way, we still won, still basking. So we know this. We're reverse engineering here. Need as many guys up there as possible. I'd like to see guys you could have guys from the 3rd line getting snaps. Zen Mikulski at one point in time was the starting left tackle at Ohio State last year. I don't know if anyone remembers that.
I blocked that out of my memory.
That happened, Dave.
Yeah, it did.
That really actually happened.
I know.
And like you mentioned, Donovan Jackson eventually kicked out there and probably made himself, I would say, close to, somewhere in the neighborhood of $1 million, probably moved up an entire round in the draft. Because of his versatility. And you'll see him listed now as G/OT or OT/G. Unbelievable. At this time last year, you would think that. So the more, the better. You see now as the offensive line is being recruited that Tyler Bowen is offering and taking commitments Thankfully, almost daily now. So that I think they've realized they need to bulk up on the offensive line, and depth there. I mean, although we didn't have it under the plan, ended up being huge for the Buckeyes. So the more the better.
Yeah, I really love the depth there. I mean, as you mentioned, the guys like the Armstrong twins. One of them's running with the twos, the other's running with the threes.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think both those kids are going to be starters here and good ones. But like they've got 4 years left. Their goal, their redshirt year was to bulk up. Mission accomplished. Now it's like, okay, get out there, get a little playing time this year, continue to work on your body, and then by next year, maybe the Armstrong twins can challenge for a starting spot. Very least, I think they'll be 2-year starters. Their fourth year, junior year, and senior year. So those big guys have already filled out. Their ceiling is high. Ian Moore's another guy. I know I brought him up early. Redshirt freshman, 4 years left. He is a big, strong kid who's running with the ones right now, right tackle. And that's one that's a legit battle, I think, between Ian Moore and Philip Daniels. I think Daniels will probably start, but I wouldn't rule out Ian Moore. So a lot of depth there on the O-line. Padilla, I mentioned him. I mean, it's really impressive. And then Tyler Bowen's going to keep adding to it. I love it. So good to have that depth on the O-line. Who thought we'd be talking about that, right? Having great depth on the O-line. All right. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm saying if you look, college basketball and college football, they're getting older. It's going to be much more difficult to run out a freshman, right tackle and say, we'll just live with it because we got a veteran left guard or veteran right guard next to him. I think you guys need to be older and experienced. That's why building up the Armstrongs, like you said, that needs to be done. You need to have guys come. You need to recruit big. There are only so many guys that big, and we've seen how desperate you can be in the portal. They're very lucky to get Ethan Onyeonwa, very lucky to get Josh Simmons. Now, maybe they could just turn that trick every offseason, and maybe they'll still do that. I would hope they would still go into the portal to pick and choose and fill spots, but the more depth they have, the more big, strong guys they have that can get in there and get reps, especially like we said, you're playing an NFL season now. You need probably 2 full lines to be comfortable going into the season.
I love how they do it. Now we know their blueprint because they did it last year. What do? They don't need to overturn the roster. What do they need to do? They need to find 5 or 6 guys that can really help them. And man, they went like 6 for 6 last year. It's unbelievable what they did last year with getting Caleb Downs and getting Quinshawn and getting Will Howard and getting Kazmarek and just unbelievable what they did last year.
It's hard to even get your mind around how good it was, actually.
Seriously.
Hindsight is going to be very, very favorable to them.
McLaughlin, I didn't even mention him. We're Remington Award winner. It's just crazy but what are they doing again this year? Landed about 6 guys. Solid. They just filled Onyeonwa, I think, is probably the best. Although Claire, you could make the argument Max Claire is the best. And then I just think they did a good job. Logan George, Larry Johnson's calling him a very pleasant surprise. The DN they got. Daniels was a good get. Onyeonwa was a good get. I mentioned CJ Donaldson. So what they do is they get about 6 guys, and we know what the gold standard is always going to be, but I like this year's class as well. I want to get to this. Dan and I mentioned Luke Montgomery, probably glossed over it. Yeah, Luke technically started, even though they listed, I believe, Saraveld and Shabola as starting guards in the national championship game. Really, Austin came off the bench, and Luke started the national championship game. Luke looks good to me. Luke's entering his 3rd year. He played a decent amount as a true freshman. Then I thought he was going to be in the mix last year. Then he was not in the mix at all until he was a starter. And then I thought he played well. So Luke Montgomery's just going to keep getting better and better. He looks bigger and stronger. So exactly. Luke is doing well, my friend. Thank you for asking about him. So maybe I glossed over him a little bit. All right. Boy, they love Peyton Pierce, man. James Laurinaitis loves Peyton Pierce. Now, they also love Sonny Styles. He's the number 1 backer, and they love Arvell Reese. He's number 2. But the question is, who's going to be that number 4 backer if they even need one? Because James Laurinaitis absolutely loves Peyton Pierce. We got a chance to talk to James on Wednesday. I did a story on what he said about Peyton. I mean, when James Laurinaitis gushes about you and says you're an absolute natural middle linebacker and just goes on and on and on, just gushing about you, pretty high praise coming from James Laurinaitis.
I was going to say, would he know something about playing middle linebacker? Yeah. Very interested to see the next level of dudes come up and play. That's always the funnest thing about the beginning of the year, getting to see those guys out there. And I like what I've seen of Peyton Pierce. He looks like he spent the year in the weight room as he should have, and he's been built up bigger, stronger, faster. Looks very comfortable. And you're right. I'm not saying it's choreographed, but you tend over time to hear from the coaches the truth, not necessarily the truth, but guys who are standing out, guys who are doing well. Over time, you talk to enough people at the practices, behind the scenes, and then what you guys get for us on screen, some themes develop. Just keep it current here. Devin Sanchez is a good freshman. But like you said, guys, they've heard other good stuff about Peyton Pierce. Very impressive boy. And you mentioned Arvell Reese and Sonny Styles. They're almost first off the bus guys at this point for linebackers. I mean, you want to talk about two future professional football players walking around, maybe discussing beach houses they'll eventually invest in, maybe together, maybe they'll each get their own. Who knows? But just impressive physically. I'm trying to think as I talk. Like we've had Cody Simon was a revelation. I honestly feel like he made that play at Notre Dame. I don't know if you remember it. He stopped a Hartman on like a long play. He forced fourth down or stopped it. And from then on, he was just better. It's like the light came on and he was great. But Styles and Reese, in terms of just how they look, may be the best combo they've had in some time. I'm not saying they're going to be the best, but physically, in terms of just like athleticism, strength, like I said, first off the bus, those dudes they're tough. And then having Pierce behind them, and like you said, who knows the fourth spot? That to me is someone who is going to emerge. That's what camp is for. But the fact that they're comfortable enough with Pierce, because the third backer, we know this, is going to get slot corner style minutes. You're going to play a lot. So it's good to have him in there. Reese kind of came on early last year. I think down the stretch, they went more Cody Simon, but he's got a ton of experience and very optimistic about the linebackers. I'm higher on Sonny than most. I was surprised that the pros didn't show more interest in Sonny. I get it. I think Sonny takes a little bit too much crap just because he was supposed to be, the combination of Dick Butkus and LeVar Arrington when he came in here, and maybe he wasn't right from the start. So I'm very happy he's coming back. Experience and smarts and talent in the middle like that, at middle linebacker, is invaluable. He's essentially going to be the leader of the defense, I would think, both in the media and on the field. So it's, as we start to go down the list, it's impressive. So I went from Pierce all the way up to linebackers, but looking forward to that group. Although I will say this, could use some experience. That's kind of going to be the theme here. Every guy, maybe we wish you had a few more snaps besides Sonny. Wish Reese and Pierce maybe had a few more, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there. But and they do have some guys that can add depth. Now, I hate to put it on a true freshman. Riley Pettijohn looks good. He's a guy I know they play different positions, but from the same state, though, it's like a Devin Sanchez where it's like we don't necessarily need him to come in and start, but if we need him to play, he can get the job done. I think probably Devin will play more than Riley if I had to guess, just because obviously more DBs play than linebackers. And I keep saying this, Devin Sanchez and Aaron Scott, they look like NFL corners right now. We're talking about backups at Ohio State. One should still be in high school. One is finishing up his freshman year at Ohio State in Aaron Scott. It's incredible how they look. I'm not joking. They look like NFL corners right now, the size. All right.
One point on Pettijohn. Yeah. I think Pettijohn is still 17 years old too, by the way.
And he's another one that carries himself like a grown man.
He was basically a year ahead.
Carries himself like a grown man. Yeah.
It's
been fun getting to know them, but interview them for the first time, and really get a chance to, after they're done with the group interview, go over and get a chance to meet them one-on-one. These are impressive. And it's like this every year. I mean, Ryan Day and Mark Pantoni and all the coaches who put this roster together, they find a way to get 5-star young men and 5-star football players. I know some are 4-star, but they're all 5-star young men. All right, there's one position battle for a starting job. There's a lot of good battles on defense for backups, especially on the defensive line, like who's going to round out the 2 deep. But as far as starters, there's one battle, obviously. I think all other 10 starting spots are etched in stone. That is obviously safety opposite the number 2 overall player in college football, Caleb Downs. The best defensive player in college football, Caleb Downs. Who's going to be his running mate back there, replacing Lathan Ransom? Is it going to be Malik Hartford, rising junior? Is it going to be rising sophomore Jalen McClain? I almost feel like it's a coin toss. Right now, Malik's going first, for what that's worth, Dan.
Yeah, this feels to me like it's almost like quarterback, and that there's no reason to name the starter. Neither one of those guys is going anywhere.
Right.
Both are talented. I giggled because the chat sometimes hits my funny bone.
A good chat, always.
So yeah, I almost think the more the better at that point. I'd like this to be something where I'd like you guys to keep coming back from practice and be like, we can't tell the difference and go either way. I'll just say this. They're in good shape starting next to Caleb Downs, okay? Starting next to a great safety, if you're the other safety and you can be told what to do, anyone who's seen the John Lynch Super Bowl video, he literally gave the guy MVP, Dexter Jackson, told him exactly where to be on 3 passes, and the ball just landed right in the guy's chest. Caleb Downs is that good that he can probably tell you where 3 interceptions are coming to you in the year and deke the quarterback into it. So more power to them. Malik obviously got a lot of playing time or more playing time as a youngster. Then McLean came on last year. So I'm interested to see there. I would be hard pressed to answer that one just because I think it's such a coin toss.
Yeah.
And also those aren't the kind of positions where, like quarterback, you have to be like, just like you said about Luke and Austin mixing it up. You may see one announced as the starter and then the game starts and you're like, look at your program. You're like, that's not the right number. You know what I'm saying? So it could go either way. The more challenging the question, the better the result.
I want to fit. I was going to do a longer show, but apparently now I have to get over to Ohio State a lot quicker than I was intending. It was supposed to be at 11. I was using the sliding scale because everything's been at 11, but starts closer to 11:45. So I'm thinking, yeah, right, 11. Then Jerry texts, better get over here by 10:45. And I'm like, I'm still skeptical, but I'll get there by 10:45. All right, so Matt Patricia, I want to talk about him. I get a lot of questions about him. I think it's a home run hire, and the good thing about sports is we will find out. And everybody has opinions, but hey, we're going to find out for sure one way or the other. I think it was a home run hire, and I'll go one step further. I think he's going to be here 2 years. I don't think he's one and done. Maybe he'll be here 3 years. I don't think he's going to be here a long time, but I don't think it's – a lot of people just assume he's one and done. Maybe he will be. Maybe it will be like a Chip Kelly situation, but I think Patricia, he's got a family. I think he's very happy in Columbus. He hasn't been here very long. We can focus on that a different day, how long he's going to be here. This year, I think he's going to do a hell of a job, and I think it was a great hire by Ryan Day. I like everything I've heard out of Matt Patricia so far, Dan.
General to specific here, we discussed how the aforementioned Nick Saban turned Alabama's coaching staff into basically a lily pad for the NFL or rehab or whatever you want to call it. Yeah. Go look at who's been through those doors and what happened to them. Chip Kelly, if this is the beginning of that for Mr. Ryan Day, Chip Kelly would fit that mold as he will be calling plays for your Las Vegas Raiders this season. So Patricia, physically, it has to be mentioned. And we talked about this. You can hear Brad.
What's up, Brad?
Come on, Brad. Come on, Brad.
What up, Brad?
Oh, he'll come in here if you call him. Don't do that. I can hear his little feet. He's a tough little guy. But Patricia, yeah. So if anyone even remembers how we were introduced to him as a human being, he was basically this. Remember how they used to say that Belichick looked homeless because he'd wear those sweatshirt cutoffs? Like Patricia was like, you know what? I'm going to go with homeless light or homeless junior look too and stand next to him. And look, he got him a job in Detroit. I don't know if that's a benefit or a negative.
He got paid.
He did. And so he has clearly made an effort to change his approach. I think he was seen as a crotchety, non-communicative guy, weird kind of. He's clearly not that. He's lost a ton of weight, shaved. You can dispute this, but it seems to me he's going out of his way to be pleasant with the media, eyes wide open, eye contact. The opposite of we're on to Carolina or we're on to Baltimore. You know what I'm saying? That's Belichick used to say, we're on to Baltimore.
We're on to Cincinnati. That's the famous
so
one.
The issues with Patricia were never his football acumen or his ability to coach and get, call good plays and design good defenses. It was like communication and style. So it's clear to me that he's going to make an impact. I also think, look, he's got a lot to sell. These guys, every single one of those guys playing for him wants to go where he's been and at a high level. And he can just, same with Chip. You're not arguing with the guy who has the keys to the castle. So I think it's, I'm really into it. I think it's great. Also, you have to give the benefit of the doubt to Ryan Day here. We've been through this. Chip wasn't the original choice. If people remember, it was Bill O'Brien, who I think would have been a fantastic choice. But he had to make a change on the fly there and cost us the Ozzie Trapillo transfer at right tackle. By the way, he's going to get picked in the 3rd round. So let's give Day the benefit of the doubt. part of basking is realizing things have changed. Day is now 70-10 with a title. So I'm on the Ryan Day benefit of the doubt train until proven otherwise. So
his name is
this
now Ryan.
Not an unattractive spot. There were many people who wanted this job. I can guarantee you that. Matt Patricia was picked from a very, very talented group of candidates. And the only reason he's not in North Carolina is because Belichick's son is the defensive coordinator. So anyone who asks that question, there's your answer there. I'm ecstatic about this.
Heck yeah. And Ryan Day's a legend in Columbus forever. The list includes Woody Hayes, Paul Brown. Let me do it in order. Paul Brown, Woody Hayes, Jim Tressel, Urban Meyer, Ryan Day. Pretty good club to be in. And now what is he saying? I want to be the only one other than Woody to win multiple titles here.
Woo.
I do too. I want you to do that, Ryan.
I want that for him.
How about we do that? I want that for all of us and for him. All right. I got to get moving here. Dan, great stuff. I appreciate it, my man. And we appreciate everybody for tuning in. Hope everyone has a great day. Keep it locked to Bucknuts. Ryan Day press conference, allegedly at 10:45. Hope everyone has a great day. Go Bucks.